Have you ever wished that you could think more clearly and make better decisions? In today's fast paced world where we are dealing with so much of data and decision making often needs to be very swift, it's important to have a structured way of thinking so that you can make the decisions that you need to make. Framework thinking and mental models provide a foundation for better understanding of complex situations, helping both individual contributors as well as leaders to navigate challenges at work and make better decisions. And in today's video, I will share with you how you can use framework thinking and mental models approach to make strategic decisions and emerge as leaders in workplace. Much of what we are going to talk about today is leveraged by consulting companies like McKinsey and Bain and is part of this strategic thinking and secret sauce, if you will. But the reality is that all these mental models are actually available out there on the internet, and you can figure out which ones work best for you and move forward with those and start leveraging those. And in today's video, I'm actually going to show you how to start thinking about these mental models and how to start leveraging them. Before we get started, a quick reminder to 92% of you who haven't yet subscribed to my channel to do so now and click on the notification bell icon so that you can be reminded every time I release a new video. And now that we have you subscribed, let's get started. So let's first understand what framework thinking is, what mental models are, what are some kinds of mental models that are out there, and then how to combine different mental models to form a way of thinking that's called framework thinking. And my goal is that by the end of this video, you'll have enough information to start experimenting with some mental models so that you can start building your framework thinking skill or muscle, and that'll help you make better decisions. It takes practice. It's not something that you can learn overnight, but once you start practicing it, it becomes the way that you think. And every time when you are in a meeting, when you are making strategic decisions, you can actually use the framework thinking approach to make decisions and guide your team. And that's the end goal over here. So framework thinking involves using structured approaches to analyze and solve problems. It's like having a roadmap that guides you through the process of making decisions. Frameworks help break down problems into smaller, manageable parts and make easier to see the connections, prioritize actions, and make informed choices. So framework thinking is a way of thinking, how you think when you are in meetings, when you are making decisions, when you are in conversations. So when you start thinking in this framework approach, every time data is thrown at you, problems are thrown at you, people ask you questions, you immediately get into that framework thinking mode and start putting mental models together to get to the answer that you need. Now, in the framework thinking approach, you use a combination of various mental models. And that brings us to the next question, which is, what are mental models? Think of mental models as tools for the mind, the concepts or the systems that help you understand and navigate the world, which has huge amount of data. It allows us to simplify the complexity. It helps us put all that data that's coming in our way in buckets such that it can easily be consumed by us, and we can tap into that data as we need to make the decision that we need to make. I know it sounds very conceptual right now, so let's take an example. A great mental model that we all have learned at some point in our life is the SWOT analysis. It's a mental model that we all at some stage in our life have used to make decisions in terms of whether we should go ahead with a business opportunity or not. So SWOT refers to strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And anytime when we have to make a decision whether we should move forward with an approach or not, we go back to SWOT analysis. Now let's talk about how framework thinking and mental models improve decision making. Framework thinking and models organize information into meaningful patterns, helping you quickly spot the trends and inconsistencies. By simplifying the information, they reduce decision fatigue and allow you to act faster. They guide attention to what truly matters, eliminating distractions, and using this structured method ensures that the decisions that you are making are reliable and the decision processes are repeatable. Now you might ask, what are the different mental models that are available out there and how can you leverage that? So let's talk about some of the key mental models and how to use them. The first mental model that I want to talk about over here is the Eisenhower Matrix. Now, Those of you who have watched my previous videos might know that I have used Eisenhower Matrix as part of my productivity framework. This is one of the important mental models that I always use to define what I need to work on and what can I eliminate from my task list to become more productive. Now, this framework is all about prioritizing tasks based on urgency and importance. I'll talk a little bit about this model over here, but I'll also link the video so that you can look at that video and go into the details of the Eisenhower matrix. But basically, the matrix talks about dividing your tasks into 4 quadrants: urgent and important, which means that you do those immediately; important but not urgent, which means you schedule them; urgent but not important, which means you delegate them; and neither urgent nor important tasks, which means you eliminate those tasks or remove them from your task list. I have a detailed video, as I mentioned, on this. I'll link it. You can go and review that. Another mental model that organizations typically use is the SWOT analysis. SWOT basically stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And you use this analysis anytime you have to make a decision of building a new product, entering a new market. So essentially, any kind of business opportunity that you are analyzing or assessing, you'll use SWOT analysis to basically identify whether it makes sense for you to move forward with that business idea. The next mental model that I want to talk about, which many of us have heard but I've not seen many people leverage it, is the first principles thinking mental model. And basically, this mental model is about breaking down the problem into its most basic truths and building solutions from ground up. When you use this model, it's about asking the question, how do we know for sure? And challenging all the assumptions that are associated with it. The next mental model that I want to talk about is second order thinking. This mental model forces you to consider the long term consequences of your actions, not just immediate outcomes. The question here to ask in this mental model is, what happens next after every decision? Now, as I mentioned, there are a lot of companies out there, specifically the consulting companies, that use framework thinking approach and mental models because they're constantly advising businesses around the strategy that they should move forward with, the pricing and packaging, and whether they should move forward with acquisition of companies or not. The framework thinking and mental model approach is a proven approach to make decisions. But how do you get started? Always start small. Pick up 1 or 2 models that resonate the most with you and consciously apply them in your daily decision making. Remember, framework thinking comes from combining different models, mental models. So there would be times where you might be using just one mental model, but there would be times where you would be using a combination of mental models in a framework to get to a decision. And that's perfectly okay. If one mental model does not provide you enough information to make a decision, it's okay to combine different mental models. I would say at any given point in time, educate yourself around 4 or 5 mental models, but pick 1 or 2 to practice them before you move on to the next model. It can get very confusing if you try and practice using 10 or 15 mental models in continuation. Remember that there are more than 80 plus mental models that exist. Then the next step is to reflect and adjust. Regularly assess how well a model works for you and tweak your approach as needed. Bring another model into the mix if the current set of models do not suffice your needs. The next one is to combine multiple models. Use different models for more comprehensive view. For instance, you can pair Eisenhower Matrix and Pareto principle to prioritize high impact tasks. Then you can share it with your team. Encourage your team to adopt these tools for more cohesive decision making process. An important aspect of succeeding in the corporate life is about being more strategic rather than just being tactical. And these frameworks and mental models allow you to be more strategic because they allow you to gather all the information, all the data that's there, chunk it up in such a manner that you can quickly use it and put it in a framework format so that you can make informed decisions quickly. In work settings, time and resources are finite. Framework thinking and mental models help you maximize on both. When used consistently, these tools foster a culture of clarity, focus, and continuous improvement. They empower you to capture relevant data quickly, analyze it effectively, and make decisions with confidence, skills that are invaluable in both professional and personal lives. Framework thinking and mental models are not just theoretical concepts, they're practical tools that can transform how you approach problems and how do you make decisions. And by integrating these models into your everyday life, you can set yourself up for success in your career. So I hope you found this video useful. Let me know which mental models you already have been using and which ones would you like to try out. I'll add a link to a page that has all the mental models available so that you can experiment with them. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in our next video. Till then, have a successful week. Bye bye.